Hi, I'm Cheryl, and today our project is this card front. I don't even have a card made for it yet, but the big thing I want to show you as far as techniques go is how to do this partial embossing. And you see that on there? This is just a gorgeous technique. So I'll be showing that to you. But what we'll need is a piece of wild wasabi cardstock, and this is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4.25, pretty standard. And then I have 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock, and these are, let's see, what did I make these? I made these 4 by 5.25, so just a little bit of our wild wasabi will show around the edges of the card, just a little touch of wild wasabi. And I have a piece of cardboard here, and this is from the back of some designer paper I got, but it's about 1 millimeter thick and an inch wide, and it's like 5 3/4 inches long. And we'll be using that to do our partial embossing. Card sets, Easter message. We're using the Easter lily, and the Bible verse, "He is not here, he has risen." And then from the sweet sayings, we're using the "Wishing you all the beautiful blessings of Easter" from that card set. Let me get that up there. This is so pretty. And you know what I noticed too? On a sentiment that's written in script and kind of not on straight lines, it's so easy to line this up. You can be a little bit off and it still looks good. So I just love stuff that makes my life easier. I've got an embossing folder. It's made by Darice, and it's called Damask. I guess I'm saying that right. I'm never sure how to pronounce that. But it has kind of a, let me see, maybe, it's got kind of a vertical flourish pattern in it. You could use anything you like, but I just thought this would be nice on my card. So that's what I'm using. Let me get rid of that paper there, because we only need this. And I have 3 Stampin' Right markers. I've got Wild Wasabi, Daffodil Delight, and Soft Sky. That's for coloring in our Easter lily. Snail Adhesive. And then I have a bone folder, and I'll be using my Stampin Up trimmer board, and hopefully I can clear a spot here big enough to actually put it on my table. I usually end up using this thing on my lap, so it's a good thing that it's a nice wide one. So let's see, where should we start? Let's start with the most fiddly part, and that would be doing the embossing. So I'm going to take my one of my pieces of Whisper White, and I'll put that in my folder. Now I'm going to try to line that up so that one of my flourishes is about, one of my rows of flourishes is about 1 inch. Maybe over this way just a little bit more, is about 1 inch in from the edge of the card. Okay. Now if you have one that doesn't have a definite up and down vertical pattern like I'm picking out, you don't even have to worry about this. Okay? So then I take my piece of cardboard, and I'm going to put that over that flourish there, and grab some masking tape, I'm going to tape it in place because I don't want this shifting. I want a nice straight little section on my card embossed. So I'll just tape that down there. Now, I'm using a Cuttlebug. So I'm going to explain to you how the Cuttlebug works. Now for normal embossing, we would use the base plate, then a B plate, your embossing folder with your paper, and then another B plate. But because we have this piece of like 1 millimeter thick cardboard going through the machine, instead I'm going to be using the base plate. Then I will put my paper in my embossing folder with the cardboard taped down, and then a C plate. Okay? So I'm explaining this to you that a C plate would normally be used with the base plate, a B plate, then your paper and your cutting die, and then your C plate would go on top, and that would be used for cutting, not for embossing. But I had to finagle it around a little bit because of my piece of cardboard here. And I'm explaining all this because if you don't have a Cuttlebug, you're going to have to finagle around a little bit with your machine. So you will probably end up using your base plate and whatever one plate you use for cutting. Okay? So let me run that through my Cuttlebug. I have that off to the side. I don't think you really need to see that. Y'all know what it looks like to crank something through a die cutting machine. Okay, so now I have on my paper just where that piece of cardboard, you see that? Just where that piece of cardboard went. Now to further emphasize that, I'm going to score a double line down each side. Okay, so let's get rid of all this stuff, because I don't need my plates and I don't need my Cuttlebug now. And I do need some room to bring in my Stampin Trimmer thing. So this also will score, but it doesn't make a deep enough score for my liking. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip this up. I'm going to take my piece of paper, I'm going to put it face down on my Stampin Trimmer, and I'm going to, just where the embossing starts to fade away, I'm going to line that up, and then I'm going to use my bone folder and score a nice deep score. Okay? Then we're going to move that over 1/8 of an inch. Let me get that all lined up here. I could line it up along the edges here. Well, you know what, I will. I can slide it down here and you can still see what I'm doing. Okay, so I moved that over about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to score a second line. Nice deep score. Now, on the other side of our embossing, we want to do the same thing. So I'm going to line that up just where that embossing starts to fade away. And make sure that's all lined up good. I'm going to score on that right along there. This just separates it from the rest of the card. Then I move it over just 1/8 of an inch. lined up. And a nice deep score with my bone folder. Okay, so now let me show you. You see, it just separates it. But I think it's important to do. Okay, so now we're ready for our stamping. We'll get our Memento Tuxedo Black ink out. And I'll stamp my Easter lily first. And we just put that right in the spot we've left here. We want that up a little bit because we need to stamp our sentiment down the bottom. Want to leave room for that. And there we go. There's our Easter lily. And then we'll take our sentiment, or our Bible verse actually, and we'll stamp that in the center between the bottom of the Easter lily and the bottom of the card, and of course between our score lines and the edge. So right about there. Okay. And while we have the ink out, let's do the sentiment for the inside also. So ink this up again, stamp up, and we'll center it and pretty much towards the top, and there we go. There's our inside of our card. So let me put that in there right off the bat so I don't lose it, and I'll cover up my Memento ink because I don't need that anymore, and I don't want to get it on me. So often I end up a big old inky mess, and I think I just got to the end of my ink, or the end of my tape runner. Time for a replacement. Luckily I have a spare, but I'm not going to change that. So I'm just going to get my grab my Tombow, and I'll put some Tombow on the back here. Maybe. Ha! My Tombow's not coming out. Uh-oh! Let's see, what have I got here? Okay, here's one. Here's a runner I can use. I'll use that. Boy, I need a new Tombow and a new tape runner. Luckily I have replacements for my snail. But I'll do that later. Alright. Let's color this in and get the markers out. So, wild wasabi, and color in the stems. If you don't have the markers, and you do have the inks, you can use the inks in a blender pen. I did that for the longest time, so I really do like the blender pens too. Or if you have a aqua painter, you could always use the aqua painter too. Just your colors won't be as bright, most likely. But I have the markers, so I'm using it. I have a lot of different markers. I think I've got every Sharpie color there is. Oh, I got a set of the Spectrum Noir markers. Boy, those are nice for if you're doing some really detailed blending and stuff. They're a lot like the Copic markers. Same basic idea. Of course, the Sharpies are nice if you want to color in gems or jewels. I have a set of I think it's Bic permanent markers too. You can use those also for coloring in gems or pearls. Okay, oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted the yellow next. Not that it makes any difference, but you just do a little yellow in the flower centers. And then just do a little shading with the soft sky. Just do a little bit on each of the petals here. And just a little shading on the, I'm going to do a little shading on this little part of the flower. I don't know what it is, like this, I don't know, the cone or the base of the flower. Because that would be shadowed. And you don't have to use the blue if you don't want to. I just like it. I just like to add a little to the white. Okay, so now we're ready to attach this to the card front. And we'll get our tape runner out here. And put some tape on the back. Good sticky tape. And we want just about 1/8 of an inch showing. All the way around. Okay, so there we go. Our card front becomes a card. And I even have a sentiment on the inside. I'm just so thrilled. So I hope you like this technique, because it's very useful at times when you only want a little section of a card embossed. You could do the same thing, cut out a heart and just have the heart embossed, or flowers, or you could do stripes on your card with embossing. So whatever you can imagine. Y'all have a really happy Easter. Take care. Stay safe. Oh, I didn't do my whole spiel at the end. If you liked my video, you don't have to like me, but if you liked my video, be sure to hit the like button down below. If you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. All my materials will be listed down below that I used today. And if you'd like to shop with me for some of the Stampin' Up! Products I've shown, you can do that either through my Facebook page or my website. And now I can say, Happy Easter. Y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.